Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning it's my pleasure to review a new edition of a book we've reviewed actually over the years from the Routledge organisation. It's part of now of the Informer and Taylor and Francis businesses. This book is probably very well known to many of you as a standard textbook. The actual title is The English Legal System 2015 to 16. It's now in a 16th edition and there's a companion website. I'll explain that in a moment. This has been written by Gary Slapper and David Kelly, who will be known to many of you, and it's a first-class book again. Now, we have given it, in terms of our review title, this phrase: a time-saving text for law students and law lecturers. The English Legal System 2015 to 16 is out now. Before I actually talk about our review, let's look at the book. It's a heavy book and a paperback. There it is, that's the front of it. There's the spine, and then there's the back. Now the back is quite important because it does show you how to use the companion website, which is actually signified by that little logo there in the corner. The book also is available as an e-book, which you'll be pleased to hear, and as I've indicated, we'll go through the book in some detail. It's a heavy book. It runs to over 700 pages. There's a detail index, and the index is actually done listed by page numbers. Then there's a very useful bibliography. What the authors have done is called it a general reading list, but there's so much to cover. Yeah, but it's a very important list all the same. Then you've got websites which they've added just before that, which I think again is very helpful. Then you've got the actual books themselves. You can see a lot of shaded areas just looking right at the back. Let's go to the front of the book though and see where we are. That is the first front page. Then we've got after that detail concerning the ebook and all the other information there. And then you've got the actual contents. You can see that there are a large number of chapters running all the way through. I'll just give you a flavour of it. There are 17 in total chapters. All the information you need is going to be there. It's well worth reading the preface, which I found as usual extremely helpful, from Gary and David. Then there's an overview of the English legal system. We've kept the name of the English legal system because that's what it is. Then there are acknowledgements, and then we go into the book itself. There's a guide to using the book, which I would strongly advise you to look at in detail, because this book is to be read now in conjunction with the website. That's the companion website and all the detail to go with it, that page and that page. And you'll see exactly how you actually get into it. Then there's a list of figures which appear in the actual text. Lots and lots of lovely cases and statutes and statutory instruments, of course, and not to forget European legislation. And then after that there's a very useful abbreviations list. Now don't be afraid to look at abbreviations. Like everybody, I forget them. It's very easy to get confused, and so there's no embarrassment about looking at the abbreviations so you know exactly what you're doing. Never try and bluff your way out of anything in the law. Law and Legal Study, an introduction. That kicks the book off, and then you can see from it that it runs through very well. There's no paragraph numbering. There are lots of shaded box areas which give very useful examples of the points that the authors are trying to make. And you do have, again, this is reform of the new civil process, the Wolf reforms. You can see a lot of information. And again, as we go to the back, a huge part about the judiciary and so on. And then you've got things like the selection of a jury on the criminal side. As I say, it's a heavy book, sort of over 700 pages. It's quite an expensive book as well, but for what you're paying, it's a very important book because of the content and what is actually being put forward at the moment. It's as up to date as it can be. Obviously, if there are any big changes that take place during the advent of this new Conservative majority government, which took place with the general election in May 2015, we will have quite a lot of changes, but this is the current statement on the law concerning the English legal system, which anybody who is studying law basically for A-level or undergraduate legal or associated studies or professional exams will need, because it is the ultimate statement, and in my view it's the best. And I say that having used very many other different types of book when I've taught this subject and when I studied it well over 40 years ago. Now, as I've said, we've called it a time-saving text. That's what it is, and this is what we say about it. Elizabeth and I talked about the book, and we had a discussion, and we came up with this. Engaged in the study of law at undergraduate level. Well, if you are, the English Legal System, 2015-16, by Gary Slapper and David Kelly, is or should be the main textbook that you should acquire. It's updated annually now and is published by Routledge, as I've indicated, and it's a definitive work in what is a core textbook for any student studying law, either as a main discipline or possibly as part of a bigger course such as law and economics, law and criminology, or whatever. Although primarily I take it that it is aimed at the law undergraduate intending to pursue a career in law, either as a professional lawyer or in one of the other ancillary roles, which there are very many, where you do need to have a very substantial grounding in law, and then probably an LLB these days to go with it. And this book gives you that grounding. The book's contents, the clarity of its presentation, and its links to an extensive and authoritative array of online resources together constitute the ideal foundation for academic legal studies. Now going into its 16th edition, no less, it's considered the best text of its kind by many people, including me. Certainly its two authors are highly experienced current legal trainers, as the book amply demonstrates, and it's thoughtful, analytical and carefully researched, so the book upholds a standard of clarity and ease of use that many would say should be emulated by other legal publications. But I'm not saying that. Typically, each chapter contains an introduction and a summary, which each cover essential points, plus there's a handy list of key questions to inform further study. So it's quite similar to the learning objectives that you have with any face-to-face classroom situation. Further study, indeed, is what this book encourages and consistently facilitates via the suggestions for further reading and the useful websites which are cited at the end of each chapter, and then there's a consolidated list at the end of the book. These pathways are clearly presented in one of the book's most useful features, which are the introductory guides which explain how to use the book and its companion website. That's right at the beginning, those little green pages I showed you, and they are really quite important. Once you've mastered it, which is not difficult, you'll find it a boon. The Online Skills Network conveniently provides tips, advice and practical and interactive examples of how the law of England and Wales actually works. And can I just say here that this is the way that many of the textbooks are going at the moment. And of course, from our point of view as lecturers and tutors, it is important to have that facility because of the large amount of change which is inevitable with our membership of the EU and all of the changes within the United Kingdom with a new Parliament. The book contains the latest developments in English law and, as the authors explain, includes a wide range of common law, constitutional and European developments that have occurred since last year's edition was published, including such areas as which arise considerable debate and controversy, like human rights law, family law, access to justice, legal services, legal aid and much more. Your reading adventure is only just starting when you look at this book, because there is so much to link into it, but it is a main primer and the best. While contemporary and up to the minute, the book places the English legal system in its historical and social context, and unlike many a system of law in what Shakespeare would have called less happier lands, the English legal system was never designed or imposed by diktat or the will of one individual or government. Instead, it's evolved over a period of 1,000 years and continues to change, almost from day to day and certainly from year to year. Law, as the authors point out, is affected by the politics and economy that surrounds it. It's both proactive and reactive to social, economic and political change, as well as, generally speaking, continuing developments in communications and technology. So let me conclude by saying, with its illuminating commentary and its wealth of ancillary resources, the English legal system 2015 to 16 is a real time saver and well nigh indispensable for law lecturers and students alike. And it's actually easy to read. And I say that with a pained expression, because some books a few decades ago were not the easiest in the world to get through, but this one is. So thank you to Gary and David. The publication date, of course, is cited as at May, or round about the earlier part of 2015. Thank you. Let's just have a quick look at the book again. There it is. Heavy book, actually. Be careful if it is opened a lot, because it is a paperback. There's the back again. Just opening it right in the middle. Here we go. We've got a structure of the criminal courts from the Supreme Court down. Always useful to have the hierarchy in a picture format, or diagram format. This is the further reading at the end of each chapter, all linked into the back, of course, plus things like websites and the companion website notes at the bottom. So do link in all the way through with that information. And can I just remind you again to read the preface, because that will set the scene very nicely for you. As I say, there's a very good index at the back if you're looking for anything specific. But this is an excellent book, a first-class study on the English legal system, and I recommend it to everybody concerned. It's certainly the one I would use if I was having to do the exams. Good luck to all of you with your exams as well. It's a difficult time. This book makes it easier for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.